Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Voice podcast. My name is Shurem Sayyid, here with another show, our youth Baraza here. We have some of our guests here. Welcome to the show. And the topic of today, before we get into the topic, let me have tell us a bit about yourself. We start from the far left. Okay, let's start with you.
Thank you so much. My name is Charlene Mwaraga, but I'm famously known as Royalty Chacha. I'm a dancer by profession. I founded a group called Royalty Entertainment, youth group, but right now we are transitioning to become an organization by dealing with strictly arts and entertainment and just nurturing skills and talents. And I'm also part of the youth advisory group under the Global Opportunity Youth Network. I'm also a volunteer at Swahili Port Hub Foundation under the Creatives and Arts Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Over to you.
Asante sana Shurem for the welcome to the show. Kwa majina naitwa Narkab Rishad na wanaotambua hapa Mombasa anajulikana kama mwanasiasa wa mgombea kiti cha ubunge ndani ya Mombasa Mvita, na by profession mimi ni marine engineer by profession, and I'm also a founder of this Let's Youth Kenya organization CBO, ambao tunajaribu kusaidia vijana na upande wa hii podcast ambayo inaweza voice out to the matters ambazo zinaingia katika daily lives za vijana. Nadhani tutaongea mengi zaidi upande wa show mengi.
We're glad to have you, Mheshimiwa. Welcome to the show. Over to you.
Hello, my name is Hawaa Athman Hussein. I'm a counsellor and an educationist, currently working for the county government under the Department of Education as an educational officer in the Directorate of Quality Assurance and Standards.
Okay, that is well introduced, each and everyone. Thank you so much. And let's move on to the topic for today, which is mental health. Mostly, preferably, let's put it in the perspective of drugs and substance abuse, how it affects the brain, how it affects the mental health of a person. Before we dig into the topic, I would like to we have a counsellor here, so who knows more about the issues of mental health. And I would actually love, Pia, if we can have a conversation in terms of the mental perspective of a person and how it relates with drugs and substance abuse. Okay, we'll start with you, Madam Counsellor. What can you say about the mental health issues? And Pia, as a county, the people who are going through a lot of mental health here in Mombasa at the moment. And Pia, with what the governor has done in terms of that perspective of the mental issue and the drugs and abuse, which is now a big factor here in Mombasa. What can you say about that?
First and foremost, it's important to understand that mental health is the state of mental well-being of a person, be it cognitive, psychological, and emotional. And whenever we draw a line between mental health issues and drug and substance abuse, it's kind of intricate. We may say that it's complicated because one may lead to another. Drug and substance abuse can be a characteristic of one, okay, or it can contribute to one having mental illness. And on the other hand, a person suffering from mental illness tends to use drug at some point in order to suppress the feelings they have or the stress they have in terms of depressive emotions and so on and so forth.
Okay, I'd like to ask another question in terms of the perspective of someone who uses drugs. Like you said, it can be that there's a point when somebody is going through a mental issue, then later on tends to use drugs. So let's put at it like from the perspective, somebody who uses drugs, how does he get into the mental issue? Does it have a point where someone changes and tends to have mental issues without having a mental issue at the start? Let's put it that way.
Yes, it's true. A person who uses drugs or a drug abuser or substance abuser can eventually get into mental health illnesses whenever drugs are used for a long time, whenever they are used frequently. Why? Because the brain system tends to change. This is what we call the reward system in the brain. This reward system normally correlates and normally gets to put the life needs at first. The needs whereby like for example, the hunger needs whenever someone is hungry, whenever someone is thirsty, even the urge of sex and so on. Okay, so the brain tends to send what you call signals, neurotransmitters, and then we can put it that a message is sent to the brain. Okay, and all this is meant, or it's majorly into the reward system and more of the limbic system. So whenever someone uses drugs, okay, the needs of the life needs of you as a person change to drug needs, okay, to a point that instead of you wanting to eat whenever you're hungry, you get to want more and more of a use of a certain substance, therefore leading to different mental issues in terms of it brings about anxiety disorders. You can talk of psychosis. There's more schizophrenia and so on and so forth.
Okay. So I understand now. We move to the side of youth, and I think I like to phrase this question to Charlene. As a youth advisory group member, be as a person who is actually a volunteer at Swahili Pot, I think you have that ability to interact with so many people who might be might have been or might be going through in terms of either a mental health issue, or to say the facts, or going through a process of trying to detoxify themselves from use of drugs and substance abuse. What can you say about the topic of today?
First, I'm a victim myself. I have suffered with mental health, and it got to a place where I've never really got to understand the meaning of depression until it hit me. Like, I'd locked myself for almost a month in the house, and things are getting out of hand. It's just that I never really considered drugs, but I'm dealing with a lot of youths. And I was actually giving counsellor one incident that I've got a friend, and she's a lady. So she used to have this phrase, I'm stressed, a blunt would do me good. A blunt, so that means sweet.
Yeah.
And it got, at first she thought it was helping, but then things got out of hand, because now it's from it helping her to now her being addicted, and she can't focus or rather do anything without a blunt. And now it was not even a blunt. She could do, say, like 3 or 4 in a day. So I think it's a notion that we as youths have it, that we can't really focus or rather do anything without drugs. And I'd say first it's because the peer pressure. And I would relate it with what His Excellency the Governor has done with banning Muguka. We come from vulnerable backgrounds, and the first thing we see back in our communities is drugs. I would see probably my uncle chewing Muguka, and it's a norm. We've grown up seeing it as a norm. But so when it gets to a point where I'm able to afford say Muguka, or rather the weed itself, to me I would not see it as a problem, because I grew up seeing my uncle doing it, or rather my mom doing it, or my aunt doing it.
So it becomes
first it's influence, because I've seen people doing it, so why won't I? And it goes on. It's a chain. So I would start using it. The next generation that will come, they saw Charlene doing it, so they'll also do it. So I think it's they correlate drugs and substance with mental health. They go hand in hand, because today if Charlene misses the blunt, I would not be myself. I would not be able to function. I would not be able to work. And it's really one of the most toughest and sensitive topics, which I think we really need to tap in and talk about it.
Okay, I think that's a very good story of yours, and of your friend as well, in terms of, I think it's a problem right now here in Mombasa, not just Mombasa but across the country, and it's used. The people mostly prefer, like, to say it's in the coastal region, mostly in terms of the Nakada statistics that came out last year. It was Mombasa was second, I think, in terms of people using more than 2 drugs. That is, either it can be It can be the weed, it can be something like cocaine, it can be people using more than 2 drugs. So, okay, I'll come to Narkab. As a person, in terms of the late youth Kenya, in terms of you having playing a part in terms of the political perspective of it, and with the governor, what he's doing right now, what can you say in terms of literally legalizing all sorts of substance abuse, like in the background of what Mombasa is perceived as?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think the governor did the right move. I think to ban Muguka because it's cheap and easily accessible.
Yeah.
Very, very easily accessible to everyone. So you can imagine a kid going to high school, mostly high school boys. In our time, when you used to see someone even above 25 years chewing or smoking, you see that there is a fight. And in our time, when you used to be in high school, you used to be in primary school. But right now, it's sad that you have to see someone in high school goes to a kiosk, just gets Muguka for only 50 bob. Someone is given 100, 200 shillings, 300 for school, for transport. But that person would rather take that money to the kiosk.
Get Muguka.
So what the governor did actually is he's going to fight all this. He just started, and this is the beginning of it. So when you go for Muguka, you're going for what is the first thing you have to aim at. The first thing that will really help the youth from coming out from the streets, from Mitani, like staying in the streets, doing other things, apart from doing the proper things that are going to build their lives and build their community.
Yeah.
And I think the government is really working hard to help parents. Nowadays, I think all of us can relate to this, that we are working very hard. Everyone is just up and down, forgetting about the kids, forgetting about the youth in the society. So there is really no guidance in the society. Like really more like when I was in primary school, we used to have guidance and counseling.
Yeah.
And most of us went through that. There's small mental health problem, you have a depression, you're sad, you go there and talk to that teacher. And that teacher is someone professional. He should always help you out. I think myself, I went there like 2 times, 3 times, because of divorce, parents' divorce and everything. So I ended up going there and we talked it out, and she makes sense. So it's life. It's an old house. Yeah, so there's no mental thing that's going to disturb you. When you have someone to talk to, always communication is better. And when I come back to the ban for Muguka, I think we'll fight on. First is the Muguka. Mira has been there. Mira has been there from our grandparents, great-grandparents, but we've never seen effects like the way Muguka has. We've seen the effects of Muguka.
Yeah.
It's quite big and massive, really, really massive. Because if I take 10 kids from just here in Bondeni, if I take 10 kids and I ask out of 10, I'm sure I get 9 out of 10 watching in Muguka. I'm so sure about that because I've done a bit of it. I've gone to the streets. I've asked my friends who I used to live with in the street.
Yeah.
And most of them, I think almost all of them, are chewing Muguka.
Another point, I want to ask this question. I think the other day, there was a point where we did a survey in terms of seeing approximately the age of those people who use Muguka, not Muguka, but one thing that I've observed here from my end of it, it's people tend to use Muguka, but now using Muguka doesn't just end there. Somebody just wants to see other drugs. Now it gets into, I've used Muguka, I know how it feels. Let me go to another drug. Let me see how it feels as well. Yeah, it goes to drugs, like goes to weed. Weed does now, it becomes like, now this thing I've tried. Let me go to another one. Now, shiki. Yeah, that's how we're messing it. Yeah, shiki vizuri. Acha nijaribu mwingine. Sometimes anaenda kwa another one, he uses so now it gets to a point where it's not just 1 or 2 drugs. It becomes now different drugs.
They can often
yes,
remaining. Yeah,
it's more of a combination now of somebody. Now it's not even about using one drug. There are people who outside will use Muguka, combine it with weed. Now wanamalizia na shisha. So now people are using 4 different sorts of drugs at a go. And it's not just taking one now and taking another tomorrow. It's now taking it all at once. I want to come to the counsellor. In terms of there are kids out there who are using this thing. There are kids who are using 4 different sorts of drugs outside. And these are kids. In terms of coming to the adolescent stage, how the brain is developing, what can you say? How can the best way to put it, does it affect the brain, the how the brain itself is developing as an adolescent, as a person, as a young person? Because one thing that we used to get to know before is when a kid grows, it grows as the brain develops bit by bit. So over to you.
Before I even go or get into that, I'd like to emphasize on what colleagues here have put it. When you talk over trying one substance of abuse going into another and all that, simply because Muguka has a very high level of stimulation. Okay, normally on the ground, there are studies on mirror and all that, but there is no study on Muguka so far. Actually, it's the adverse effects, the intense effects that people are seeing that led to the governor to ban, or which is a good idea and I support, but it's simply because of the very high stimulations in it, which are even higher than in cannabis. So you can imagine. That's why someone feels like they say they're extremely high. Okay, exactly. You tend to use the next and the next and the next.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that as people will go down into survey, into they get to do more research on Muguka and get to know what products or what other stimulants are in it, because basically it's not well known, unlike the one of Mira. Straight when you go into the brain adolescent, the development of the brain, it's very clear to get to understand that any drug use or drug and substance use is no good to any adolescent. Why? Because our brain develop up to an age of 26. Okay, so at their particular age, their brain is still developing, especially the prefrontal cortex. Okay, the frontal part of the brain, and this is the brain. This is the part whereby it's important, and it's for making decisions. It's for making sound decisions into the reward system and all that. I remember putting handling talking a bit of the reward system. So at this particular point, this particular adolescent is not fit. Okay, because the brain is still developing and the brain keeps on developing. So that's why you'll find the earlier an adolescent or a child uses drugs, the more faster or higher levels of him being an addict, getting to say that addiction is a neurological disorder. Okay, whereby the brain system is interrupted in terms of perceiving our life needs and turning and changing into the drug needs. So there are damaging effects on the brain whenever an adolescent uses than anyone, because it affects at large the level of remembering, the aspect about, like, you can find for those in alcohol, you'll get to find let me put it this way, for those who use alcohol, you get to find that the hippocampus tends to shrink for those who use alcohol, and this hippocampus it's whereby our learning and our memory is enforced. And as well, we get to see for those who use marijuana at high levels, it lowers the brain function at a point. So it really affects the adolescent rather than any other, because the brain is still working towards development, the brain is still working towards putting itself together. Then you come and just disrupt everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to come to either Charlene or Narkab to emphasize in terms of the preventive measures that can be taken in terms of as a county. Let's put at it as a Mombasa County. What do you guys think are the right solutions or preventive measures that can be taken to stop this further into getting into the minds of vulnerable people? Because one thing that I can say, kids are vulnerable. I and they don't have that ability to avoid these kind of things. And peer, it's a very big problem in terms of having a friend who uses, because now it's more of people, it spreads high because of how a friend tells you about it. You get to know somebody telling you, hey bro, jaribu hiki. Itashika vizuri jaribu. Now, how can we prevent that? And towards your advice to the people out there in terms of avoiding this kind of problems. Let's start with Narkab.
So, for this issue, first I would like to just concentrate on one thing. The kids, you're talking about the underage mostly. Who are the examples to the underage? It's us and the people older.
Yeah.
Us, yeah. Now in Mombasa, as I said before, it's totally different. To us, it was a big thing to see someone chewing. And they will stay somewhere in a corner in the street, let's say Komta. They will go a specific place where we'll all know this is not our place.
You're not supposed to be
there. Yeah, you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So when you pass, you just say Assalamu alaikum, and then you just
go.
Yeah, you take another left, you take a straight, but you don't go there. But nowadays, it's everywhere. I'll give you a challenge. Go to Kingorani, Majengo. You'll see a group of people on the roadside of the road. They're chewing supporters of the governor, supporters of the speaker of the county assembly.
Now the problem is now the people who it's now.
I won't even talk about the leaders.
Yes, it's yeah.
Yeah. So if we are going to show these young ones that this is a good thing, we are chewing it, nothing is happening to us. We are on the street every day. We are there every single day. So they will say this has no effects. If they can chew every single day and on the road, and everyone is saying that means this is fine. So definitely the younger one will just go to the kiosk. I give me Muguka. They'll also start their squad. Stay 3 people, 4 people. Now the group gets bigger, and that's how it's going on and on. So I think we should stop this thing of showing off, staying in public places, even in social medias. I don't think we should portray that. Nowadays we have lives going on in TikToks and Instagram. People chewing live so that other people can go in and donate something.
It's a major effect for the kids as well. The kid was watching TikTok.
I'm seeing
all that.
Yeah. If I'm seeing this over 50K on Saturday from sponsors, just because she's chewing and then entertaining people, what will the other kids say? Someone who gets only 50 bob a day or doesn't get anything a day and he's seeing someone getting 50K. I'll also do that thing. I'll go to TikTok. I won't go to office. I don't want to finish studies where I can get 50K a day from TikTok. So I'll just end up, this is my job. I just end up jabba, and then and from like there. So I think we should put some conditions. We should always put some regulations. The governor has to say, you can't go to your life and do such things. We had religious leaders talking about this, casting these people, but didn't they hear anything? It's just nothing. They went on and on and on. It's a business right now. Everyone is on live. Everyone is making like kasifa. Like if you chew,
if you use any substance, you have the ability to.
So we are a bad example to the younger ones. We need to change first before we ask them to change. Before we give them guidance and counsel.
It starts with us.
Yeah, we should guide our own selves. Yes. Then we can guide the younger ones. That's my take.
Okay, over to Charlene. I think let's put at it from the perspective of what Narkab just said in terms of being an example, leading by example, as well as trying to accumulate and trying to help the people out there, the kids. Because one scenario that I had witnessed a couple of months back was I was in, what do you call it? I was in a place where there were kids, a kid of 13 years of age, not just 13, but he had friends. His friends were all under 18. Now a kid carrying that there's a special bag that is used for Muguka, ile kadogo tu. Yeah, that's a special bag. Now a kid at that age, at that tender age of 14 or 13 years of age, using that substance abuse. Now, let's just tell us a bit. What can you say about that?
Okay. So, I have this Buddha guy who used to carry me almost every day. Coincidentally, I never used to have his number. You don't know the plans. You call them. I'm almost ready. Come pick me. So this one, I'll get to the stage and he'll be the first person I see almost every day. But then I was so surprised. And I ask him. Most times when I come during lunchtime or maybe around 2 p.m., I do not find you at the stage. Where are you? It's like, Niko Bez, mimi, nikifika masaa, kishafika mimi, nishatoa. I'm like, okay. So the following day, I don't get him, but I find some guy who I think they were quite close. And I'm like, wewe uendangi base? Mimi sasa lakini mpaka saa 10 unajua sisi huwa tunakesha. So it's, and now I come to realize motorists would work from 9 or some even from 6 because they have kids they have to drop at school. And then from 9 to 11 to 12.
Now that is the time off to go chill and...
Believe you me, once a motorist would get like 300, that is enough. It's enough. Huyo ashamaliza kazi, jamba yake ya say like 100 or 50 shillings na Predator energy drink. Trust me.
And some chewing gum and
yes.
it's done.
Yes. Ako Maldives huyo. Yani, life is so good for him.
So not for 300 a day is enough.
So
in terms of investing, there's no problem of him trying to earn more than that.
Exactly.
He gets
so okay.
For the Muguka.
Tell me when we will be a developed county if that is the life some of us are living, and they're young people, they're young youths, some who've dropped out of school, you know. Tell me when we'll have improved livelihoods, when this is, some of them are dads, some of them are uncles, some, you know. We had this public participation, and I'm seeing some of us here attended the Stories and Jamba public participation. And something brought me to tears when this dad was literally crying, trying to make us understand how his son, who was living in Dubai, this son was living his dream life, but right now as we speak, he's among the people we see here on the streets with us sack because of drugs and substance. This is someone who had his life well structured. His dad took all he needed, akampeleka Dubai, kijana ameishi maisha mzuri. But tell me why he's on the streets right now, the streets of Mombasa. He's totally addicted. Yeye kwa gunia yake ni yeye na jaba peke yake. He can't do it without. He cannot do it without. So I supported whatever the governor did with both my hands, legs, and because I trust you me, we were to, it was either Mombasa to be forgotten, because Mombasa is well known with mostly crimes and drugs and substance. So I think it's either we break that chain and break that circle by starting now. We would not want to have other sons who went to Dubai and coming back and being in the streets. We want our lives to be improved. We want to have sustainable lives, to have development in our county. And the only way that has to start is us by start to curb drugs. So I would say different ways where I think we can work towards this. First, I think is awareness. We really need to create awareness, because if I stand here and speak for our youth, tomorrow we'd have a second voice for our youth, and third, and we need to empower. And I'll still say we go back to the young people, the way he was saying it, my colleague was saying it. We need to go back to the young people. We need to start with us, talk to us before we even try and tell the younger ones, because they've already grown up and they see it's normal. We need to see the change in us. So we first need to create awareness. And then the second thing, this is a program that Swahili Potham Foundation has started, and I am loving it. It's a mentorship sessions for the young people. They picked young people, trained them to be mentors, case managers, and now went back to their different sub-counties, the local areas, and picked people. If I'm a young person and you bring me someone close to my dad's age, there's nowhere to talk, there's nowhere to open up. But if I see a young person right close to my age trying to speak to me about things that would make sense about my future, I'll be all interested. And I think it's worked. I'm among the mentors. I have young people, some who are drug addicts, who are reformed drug addicts, 15 people. And I am seeing the change because it's a 6-month program. I'll give an example of one guy. When I met him, with how he was in February and how he is right now, this is someone who could not even speak with people. He would get there and literally look at people as if you guys are wasting my time. But today he'd even call me, madam, leo vipi tunapatana? He'd get there, he's the first person, he'll get there, panga viti, he's like looking forward to the sessions. And I think the second thing we need to do is we need to talk to people, talk to the young people, let's make them understand why we are doing this, and also make them feel safe to talk to us.
Thank you so much. And we'll be taking a 5-minute break, and we'll be back. And still, keep it there. We will be continuing. Okay. Let's take a break. We are back. We continue with the questions, and let's move on to the question for today. Another question, which is in terms of the psychological problems that people go through in terms of trying to detoxify from the use of drugs abuse. I'll start with the counsellor. Can you give us into details a little explanation of these psychological problems? It can be psychological problems, it can be a health problem that someone might undergo in terms of trying to get him or herself out of use of drugs.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, this is what we call drug withdrawal, a point where you want to get out of the drugs, the cessation or reduction of any psychoactive substance that has been used for a very long period of time in a frequent manner. And from that, you get to see the detoxification process, whereby it's the process of withdrawal. Effects when one wants to do away with the drugs. So in this case, whenever there's drug withdrawal, whenever one decides, let me stop this, this is what we call, it's evident that it comes with withdrawal symptoms, such as we have headaches, we have the shaking tremors, sometimes anxiety comes in, others do vomit, there's insomnia, and so on and so forth. So actually, when you talk of psychological impacts, they majorly come from what you call physical impacts. Majorly physical impacts are vomiting and nausea, and they're directed straight to the psychological impacts, such as anxiety, depression, and loss of motivation. So it's true that there are psychological impacts in case where wants to do withdrawal, in case of detoxification, that even at some point may lead to mental health, such as anxiety and depression.
I think that is brief enough in terms of somebody what they undergo. I want to mention something that actually happened a few days ago. I think in terms of what's happening here in Mombasa right now, there was a friend who actually, let me put it this way, there are certain health issues that someone goes through. I'll refer it as a health issue, because it was more of it's a health issue. No, it's a health issue. So inikwarisha, jamaa nipigia simu anambia, bro, listen, nikubaya because of what's been happening in Mombasa, and I've not gotten the treatment. That's the Muguka itself is a treatment. So it's more of chonga for a few days, and now narisha. So it's an effect. It's an health effect. So I'll come to you.
It's actually a symptom, not an effect at large. So it's a symptom of the sudden reduction, the sudden stop, the sudden cessation. They are symptoms. Then the symptoms, then later you get to see the physical impact now the physiological impact. So diarrhea is one of the symptoms that comes with the sudden withdrawal or with the drug withdrawal, sudden cessation.
Yeah. So I'll come to Charlene. I think Charlene, you can briefly explain to us if there are certain scenarios you feel like that certain actions that people take in terms of the youth, in terms of somebody trying, because we live in a society where we have friends who actually use this kind of things. You get someone telling you, oh bro, cheki niko detox leo. Then eventually after a few days you find the guy then going back. Yeah. So what are the causes that can cause someone from going from detox then going back into what he was using?
Because with me, I also not a friend, but we were in this meeting, and whoever was supposed to do the presentation, really nice, like ile tu ilibidi ameadmit akaambia, guys, I will not be able, wageni wakuze nituze niwaibishe. He was literally trembling, he was sweating, yani it was out of control, yani ile paka mwenyewe unamwonea tu huruma ile tu kabisa, and it's really sad, but wacha tuone vile itatupeleka.
Now it's becoming a big problem.
Yeah.
I think Pia, in it being a problem now, we need to come to the side of coming and helping these kind of people who are actually going through this. Because now it seems like, I think with the counsellor, if it's possible, people can go to doctors and get treatments. There are certain treatments that can be used. And I'll come to the education. There's actually a question for that. And what treatments do you kind of think that that certain treatments or actions that are in place in terms of the psychological, treating somebody's, the psych part of it, and the mental health and the use that this person has gone through a long time trying to use it. Let's say people actually want to go. There are certain people who want to leave these things. They want to leave it for good. But now it's more of now getting the right help. The right help and the right people to help them. Because now it's more of, mi nataka nitoke kwa hii kitu yenye natumia, lakini nikitoka bado I see something that is pulling me back. So now, for someone who feels like that, what can you say? What can you tell them?
Okay, it's important to get to understand that these symptoms that people get whenever one wants to withdraw from drugs, they vary according to the drug dependence. Your symptoms may not be mine, and actually, it's a process. It's a stepping stone of their treatment, but people tend to take it negatively, and due to that and due to the fear and everything, then they find themselves back to track one, not understanding and knowing that it's a process. Actually, it's the first step. One gets to see and these withdrawal symptoms are being observed. So it's important for us to let's understand that it's a stage. That's whereby the journey of healing starts. Let's not fear to do detox or to detoxify. Let's not fear drug withdrawal. It will come with its symptoms. There will be impacts, but in the long run, all will be well.
Okay, so for Narkab, let me put it this way. What is your advice? What would you say to the young people, not just the young people, but the people who suffer from mental issues and yet they see or perceive that drugs help? What can you tell them?
I think the only thing I'll tell them is don't use drugs as an escape route. Don't use drugs as an escape route. Nowadays, we have so many places, a few places, not many, but then we have sometimes that happen to be many. People come into mosques, churches. We have in the streets, we have like Swahili Port Hub. There are so many events that you can attend. Okay, you don't want to attend all of them. You're lazy, you're Muguka sitting on the streets. We just attend one. Just one. Something that will push you to change yourself. Something that will make you feel different. I think we are escaping from the reality through drugs. We need to stop escaping the reality. The reality is your life. You're going to live there forever. In that, it's like a flask or something enclosed that you're inside. But then you want to come out of it through drugs, which is a lie. The drugs will just keep you and make you think or imagining that you are outside of your circle, which is your reality. And then the drugs are taking you outside of it, not physically, just mentally, taking you out of the reality, taking you outside to live a fake life. But then in reality, you're stuck in that circle. You're not going anywhere. You're not moving. All your money, everything is stuck there. It's not even there. You're using on drugs.
Yeah.
Instead of you developing yourself, you advancing in other things. You can go take short courses. Keep yourself busy. I know it's a very hard thing. I know it's really tough. So many of us have gone through. You try to do something and then to overcome it's been a hard thing, but you should be there in yourself. Just be in. Don't lose yourself. Don't take drugs and lose yourself. Just stay calm. One day, fight, and one day it will just end.
Due to time, I think we'll be wrapping it up. I'd like to ask one last question, that is in terms of the mental health and the drugs, the treatments, or let's say the psychedelic drugs that are actually working in terms of helping these mental people who suffer from mental issues. To you, to the counsellor, how do they help, and what steps or the process of the people who are using this kind of medicine and drugs that so that us to help them in terms of their mental issues? Give us a little bit, and then as we wrap it up, let's give us for some few minutes.
Okay, there's what we call psychedelic therapy. This therapy is normally used to ease, the symptoms of addiction in a person. And psychedelic drugs are just a subclass of hallucinogenic drugs that people or doctors use. And examples of these drugs are sort of MDMA, we have psilocybin, ketamine, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to like when it's put down, like when you go back into books, you get to see the psilocybin and MDMA has been used to treat likes of depression and PTSD. But actually, in the latest finding, there's no any documented item on how the therapy they're looking into the MDMA therapy and how it can help in terms of treating social anxiety, especially in adults of autism. So yeah, it's true that there are drugs that help in treating mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, such as depression and anxiety, and so on and so forth. And it's very important we get to dig deep and get to put more effort in getting to find out more therapies and getting to find out more effective drugs that can lead or can be dealt in terms of helping people get out of addiction.
Thank you. As we wrap it up, I'd like to give 1 minute to each and every one of you to just give us your call to action, your last remarks in terms of our topic for today, and what you'd like to tell to the youth, the people out there. Let's start with you, Charlene.
With me, it's sadly early this year, I lost my dad.
So it's
the same thing that we're discussing right now. So I'm not yet to loosen up the strictness in me if we are in to fight drugs and substance. I mean I'm all in because I'm coming from a family where I understand the effects. And the sad thing is we all know the end goal. When we start choosing drugs, we know where to lead us, but we still have put on a deaf ear and still keep on. So I'll just urge my fellow youth, if you really, really love yourself, you do not have to do it to fit in, because most times we do it for peer pressure and influence with what we listen and watch, what Kinari Cross and Nicki Minaj keep doing, and we want to fit in and also be in the lifestyle. But we understand the end goal. When I'll be in the hospital with my mother trying to force me to drink a cup of porridge, it will be me experiencing it. And worse of it is the family has to also feel the pain of what you decided to do. So if you really, really love yourself, the change is now. Yeah.
Thank you. Over to you, Narkab.
For me, I would like to tell my age mates, people older than me, our parents, even the younger ones. I would like to tell them, this is the time. It takes time for you to know the side effects and to know the negativity of something. Like the bad effects of, let's say, a substance like a drug. So for Muguka, it took a while. People are asking questions. Why now, not before? Why is it political? It's not political. It took us time to understand that this is a drug. It's more like it has more effects than compared to others that we are and the small nut. But then, so I would like to tell people this is the time for us to be united, to fight this. It's a step at a time, one step at a time. We fight Muguka, we support the governor, and I would like to tell the governor also not to back down. Go for it, push it, we are behind you. We know that this is a good fight. We want you to go on, and let them not intimidate you by coming to your business premises and all, because we'll be there we are going to be there for you. I think I even sent a message to the governor, told him that I'm behind you and we are going to stand firm on this. So we are going to help future. The young ones coming, we want to help them, and we have to use force. So if we together are going to be to one thing, then we are really going to put a good fight. And I think that's all for today. And I really appreciate you hosting us in this show. And it's a good thing. And I'd like you guys to keep it up. Thank you so much.
Over to you.
One thing I would like to put across is that it's important for us to get to understand that prevention is better than cure. whatever our governor in Mombasa is doing is actually one of the preventive measures, whereby there is public consumption bans. It's one of the preventive measures, and it's all for the betterment of our generation, for the betterment of the people of Mombasa. So let's take it positively. Actions such as high taxes, legalized consumption, age of consumption, and so on are also among the preventive measures that can be taken across. And to our youth, to the young generation, you're our leaders of tomorrow, and we're looking forward to you guys into standing firm and into taking Mombasa into another level. So let's not be intimidated. Let's be exposed enough. Let's get to be informed enough, get to know whatever I'm using or whatever substance of abuse I'm using, how does it help in my life, or what effect does it bring about in my life? We as youths have to think further, be open-minded, and I guess it's all in the mind, because whenever someone comes into place and decides to do a certain thing, or decide to act in a certain way, or to use a certain drug, then it's because they have decided. Then let be the decisions we make effective, and not any other way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you guys here with us. And to all the people out there, I think you've heard it from every person here. Be wise and know what you're using. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media platforms at Let's Voice Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And that's all for today.